everyone, welcome to another episode of Practical Organic Living. In this episode, we'll be giving you some tips on how to plant, grow, and harvest stone fruit. Stone fruit's a fruit that has a pit or stone inside, so think of a peach, plum, pluot, apricot, nectarine, and those type of fruits. We want to show that it's really not that hard and it's actually pretty easy to get an abundance of stone fruit. So we'll be demonstrating with a plot for how to plant a stone fruit, and we'll be demonstrating with these nectarines and also peaches over there on how to grow and harvest the stone fruit. We planted a plot in February. Here's some planting process and tips. So yesterday I dug out the old tree and dug a nice hole. And as you can see, there's a bare root flavor king plot tree is sitting in the hole. So what we're gonna do is plant to this exact depth because this is a graft over there. Don't want that to be under the soil. Alright, so bare root trees look like this. They have a root system like this, and our goal right now is to cover this in soil. Alright, so this is what the hole looks like after it's all done. We just backfill it with dirt. And we don't have to worry about the graft getting sunburned because this is facing east and there's fences in the house between the trees, so sun will never shine directly at the graft. Also, make sure that you water your tree in really well so that the root has good contact with the soil. Let's go back a few months to see the growing progression of our trees. This is what our fruit trees look like in March. You also notice that the trees bloom before leafing. Here, our pluot has started leafing out quicker than our peaches and nectarines. We also see that the newly planted pluot tree is also doing really well. In our growing zone, May is about the time we thin our fruit. Here's more on how to thin the fruit and prune the fruit. So now it's early May, and you'll notice that when your trees are transitioning from late spring to early summer, they're gonna flush a lot of new growth like this out, but at the same time, you have to be careful for what we call peach leaf curl. So if you take a look at these leaves right here, you'll see that the bottom half is like crinkly and the top half looks like a leaf. And what you can do to prevent this is to spray, usually copper if it's organic. For a lot of gardeners, they don't have that time and they don't know how to spray. So what I actually do, which forces you to come out to your trees, is that I actually just pick these off. The new leaves are going to be like this, and these only really thrive in damper climates. So you'll see in the summer, you're not going to get a lot of that peach leaf curl. But you do want to pick these off, otherwise they'll spread and they'll get on the fruit. And now you can see that I've uncovered a whole bunch of fruit here. And that's the second thing I wanted to talk about. So on a peach tree, especially the modern varieties, there's just way too many fruits. There's no way all these branches can support that many fruit. And also, you don't want that many fruit because the sweetness and the fruit flavor is diluted across a lot of different fruit. If I let the fruit, they can get too big and grow too big and crowd each other out. So what you want to do is you want to thin your fruit. So let's take this branch here. So you can see there's some peach leaf curl I'm going to get rid of right now. And the rest of these are healthy, which is good. The most obvious are these, right? These don't look good, and I tap and they're gone. Now you have a harder choice. There's 4 clumps of fruit here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I like to do is I like to just leave one about every 3 to 6 inches. So I see there's 3 here, so I'm gonna thin out 2 fruit from here. As for this clump, I'm gonna take this top one here because I want this fruit to give each other space. And for this clump, I'm just gonna leave 1. So there were about, I think, 12 fruit earlier. Now there's only 3. And by doing this, you allow the tree to concentrate all its energy onto a fewer number of fruits so that they get bigger, they taste better. And what I like to do is actually thin the fruits out when they're about this size. Because when they're too small, you don't know which fruits are gonna make it. This is our nectarine tree. You can see it's doing slightly better. You can still see some peach leaf curl, but you can see there's a lot less because the leaves are higher above ground and there's more wind coming through. So it's not as cold and damp. So the fungus doesn't really thrive. But you can still see that there is still a lot of peach leaf curl, and there's also still a lot of fruit I gotta thin. When you see branches coming out like this, branches are just gonna keep growing throughout the growing season. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this branch and throw it down. And what I see here is that there's too many nectarines. There's more than 12. There's like 14. Another tip to thinning fruit is you normally don't want the fruit on the tip of the branch because the fruit's just gonna force the branch to hang down like that. I'm gonna thin all the others around here. So I've got 1 fruit here and 1 fruit here. So as you can see, this branch is no longer hanging down like this like it was before. All right, so I'm gonna do this for my whole tree. And it'll probably take me a couple hours. So next time we check in, you'll probably see
a lot of ripe fruit. So we'll see you in a couple months.
So it's after July. So we've actually been harvesting over the past 2 weeks because the fruit's been ripening. And right now I'm going to give you a couple of tips on when to harvest and how to harvest. So when to harvest, one good sign of knowing when to harvest is by smell. So let me go to the peach tree here because according to the camera lady, the peaches are much more aromatic than the nectarines, and I tend to agree with that. So if you smell the peaches, it should smell peachy. If it doesn't smell peachy, if it smells bland, it's not ready. Another way to know whether it's ready to harvest is by touch. So the peaches should be soft to the touch as well. So you smell it first. Yeah, it smells really peachy. And then if you touch it here, there's a slight give. And another way you know how to harvest is if you see critter bite marks. You have squirrels, raccoons, possum, rats that love peaches too. So they will be the first ones to tell you whether the fruit is ripe or not because they have a more sensitive nose than us. So one tip to harvesting the fruit is actually not pulling the fruit because you're going to pull off the skin and expose the flesh. So you want to actually twist the fruit like this, like so. Here. See? I barely twisted and it fell. So that's also another way to know that it's definitely very ripe. So I'm going to harvest this one and this one. See, I'm just going to twist it like this. And it should come out. You don't want to expose this flesh here. You want a little bit of stem right here. That's the proper way to harvest the fruit. Okay, so my little helper is going to demonstrate on how to harvest this one. So he's going to turn it. See? It's super, super easy. Not like that, see? So as you can see from all this fruit up here, stone fruit usually ripens all at once. So we don't really have the luxury of waiting that long. So that's why when you harvest, you have to be ready to come out and feel the fruit a lot and smell the fruit too. And once you have determined that the fruit's ready to pick, you have to be ready to harvest a lot of fruit at once. So what we're going to do is finish harvesting all this fruit and we'll show you what the harvest looks like. Alright, so that's our video on planting, growing, and harvesting stone fruit. So we really encourage you to grow stone fruit. And if you're also interested in videos on how to use peaches, we have a couple of videos on how to make peach desserts and how to harvest and use peaches as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next